Now, it's a fact that Metallica hides a lot of the sickest riffs in their catalog behind Kirk's guitar solos, like this one from the Frayed Ends of Sanity. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Anybody that's watched my channel here for a while knows that I love doing these Metallica deep dives, and one riff you guys have been asking for a lesson on forever is the section that James plays behind Kirk's guitar solo in the Frayed Ends of Sanity. Many moons ago, back on Weekend Wankshop 142, I gave you guys a full lesson on the exact right way to play the bridge riff that's before the solo. But the solo section riff is so awesome and really complicated that it definitely deserves a lesson of its own. So on today's video, I'm going to give you guys a note-by-note breakdown on how James plays this riff, and then we're also going to go back through and talk about some of the time signatures and stuff that are going on here to help you count it a little bit more better. As always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Sign up today, even at just a $1 a month level. You're going to get downloadable tabs to go along with this lesson, as well as a ton of other goodies. So don't delay, sign up today. You guys can also help support my channel by buying some Shred Till You're Undead merchandise down there in the threadless link below. Makes a great holiday gift item. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm playing my ancient Ibanez RG550 here that has the Fishman Fluence Classic pickups in it. I've got that running into a Pepers Pedals Dirty Tree, which is going into the front end of this Mesa Dual rectifier. I like things that are nice. But before we get any further, let's hear that sick riff again at stepdad speed. Okay, this section is longer and more confusing than my homeschool sex ed class, so let's just start digging right into it. The first section here is based around some gallops and some pull-offs here that go from 6 to 5 on the low E string. Sounds like this. Now at this point we reach this section. So this is starting off with 2 low E chugs, and then we're going to play that 6 open, 5 open, then do the same thing on the A, and then after this you're going to play, that's just a B flat, an open, and then a B flat power chord. This is followed up by this little tail segment that closes the riff out. 1, 1, 2, 3. That measures in 3/4. We'll talk about the time signatures and stuff here in just a second. So the long E riff altogether is going to sound like this. Now let's talk about the F sharp section. It's going to sound like this altogether. Now we're going to start off here by barring the bottom 2 strings at fret number 2 because you're going to be doing some pull-offs. They're really faint and hard to hear, especially under all the super aggressive palm muting and picking that James is doing. But if you listen really close, again, find the isolated track and slow it down, and you're going to hear, especially the C pulling off to B, you can hear that one really well. It's a subtle thing, but it makes this riff sound really cool. So we're starting off with that pull-off from C sharp to B on the A string, followed by some 2nd fret gallops down there on F sharp on the low E string. Again, you can see that that's the C being pulled off to B right there. Now at this point, there's this funny little thing that they do at the very last bit of the riff. It sounds like this. Again, it wasn't a straight gallop. It's like a gallop, another gallop, a single, and then your C sharp, and then 2 E's. Really odd. So up to speed, the F sharp section should sound like this. I know a lot of you guys are going to be tempted like I was to make the last 2 notes of the riff F sharp, just like it's been all the way through. But by making the last 2 notes of the riff E, it lets them get back up here to the 6th position to restart the long E riff again. You'll notice throughout this entire section here, there's a lot of what I call spillover, where it's kind of like the next section sort of bleeds into the section that you're playing right now. Like we're playing this F sharp bass stuff right now, the next section coming up is based on E, and the E stuff starts before this F sharp section is even over. We're going to see this later with the A part too. So again, really watch the tab closely, you'll see what I mean about that spillover and how it actually makes this all a bit easier to play if you follow it. After this, you're going to replay that long E to F sharp section again. The only difference this time around is that instead of starting with E, you're going to actually be starting off with that pull off from 6 to open. Like that right there. So coming out of the F sharp part, back into the long E riff, here's how it's going to sound. Now that we're through all that, we're going to play the shortened E section, which sounds like this. This is essentially kind of like what you played down here for the F sharp riff, just adapted to suit an E tone center instead. So you don't have that kind of lick like you did earlier. It's just kind of a shorter version of the same riff you played earlier. After this, you're going to go back to that F sharp riff. Now, that was all exactly like what you played just a second ago, including that weird little section there at the end. The only change in the riff happens right there. You'll notice that instead of having the E spill over like we did earlier, it's going to have an A spill over instead to get us into this A section of the riff that's coming up next, which is essentially the exact same thing as that long E riff that you played earlier. It's just dropped down a string set, or dropped up a string set if you're talking pitch versus physicality. You know damn well what I mean. We're moving it to the A and D strings to play this riff, okay? It sounds like this. So it's exactly like the long E riff that you played earlier. Now you'll remember at the end of that long E riff, there is that tail that we talked about before it shifted here to F sharp, right? It's a section that sounds like this. Now, because this section of the solo just stays on A, it doesn't do that tail. It's not like it moves up to B or anything like that. It just kind of flows back into itself and restarts. It can be a little confusing, so again, be sure to follow the tab, and we're going to talk about the time signatures and stuff that are used here too. That'll definitely make it a little bit easier, but follow the tab closely here and listen how it just kind of flows back into itself. So it's more like that A riff just kind of flows back into itself like that. Now you'll notice there at the very end of the second time through the A riff, there's a different ending. I did a little spider chord kind of thing. I'll explain that here in just a second. It sounds like this the second time around through that riff. I'll play the end of the first section so you can hear it better. Here's the restart. The lick. And then right here, you can see I played an E power chord with fingers 2 and 4, a B flat with fingers 1 and 3, then taking it down to A right there. That E right there, I'm a little unsure about. When you listen on the isolated tracks, it almost sounds like one of the guitars is playing E and the other one is playing E flat, but it goes by so fast that it's really hard to say. Usually whenever I have stuff like that happening in a transcription, I like consult the bass track, right? And again, on the record, you can't hear the bass at all, but if you listen to the isolated bass track, there's actually a few differences throughout the entire riff in terms of how the guitars are playing versus how the bass is playing. For example, on the E riff that we played earlier. If you listen to the bass track, Jason actually plays instead of like that right there. So there are a few differences between the guitar and the bass, so I'm not exactly sure who to trust right there. So I'm just going with my ears and assuming they're playing the E to the B flat. Seems like a Metallica kind of thing to do anyway, right? And that is the entire thing. Let's go through it bit by bit here, starting off with the long E riff. I think I played it right that time. Playing that without drums is actually really weird. Now the way that Lars is playing over this is kind of some typical Lars stuff. He's keeping it simple. He's got a lot of crashes on beat number 2. He does that all the time. And those Lars isms kind of make it hard to tell what time signature a lot of this stuff is in. And actually there's a lot of different ways that you could count it if you really get down to it, but the way that I've tabbed it out and stuff here, I've written the time signatures on each measure to hopefully help you count along with it. It's mainly in 4/4, although there's a couple measures of 5 and a few measures of 3/4 in there as well. Again, you could count it a lot of different ways, but to me this is the way that sort of makes the most sense. And I think the best way I can show you that is by playing the slowed down isolated track that doesn't have the solo going on top of it and counting along with you. So right here in good old YouTube, a user named Instrumentally Insane uploaded a video called Metallica Frayed Ends of Sanity Instrumental No Solo. And it is exactly that. There's no vocals and there's no lead guitar on it, so it's perfect for what we're doing right here. I'm going to go through all these sections and count along with them here so you can follow the groove a little bit more better. You'll notice for the long E riff, it's going to be 3 measures of 4/4. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 times in a row. After that, you're going to have a measure of 5. This is where the long kind of lick is. The do 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 da da da. Kind of feels like it's a little bit too long. That's because it's a measure of 5/4. And then that's followed by a measure of 3/4. That's that little tail we talked about earlier. So the E riff is going to go 4/4 3 times, 5/4, and then 3/4. Let's check it out and count along. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 4 a bunch of times, a 5, and then a 3. Now that section that goes from 5/4 to 3/4, that would add up to 8/4, which would be the same thing as 2 measures of 4, right? And you could indeed count it that way. You could just count this entire riff as being nothing but, what would that be, 5 measures of 4/4? It sounds kind of like this. Again, the accents don't really fall, look out, in the right place to me, but you could simplify it and look at it like that. Let's try it that way, just counting all 4 the entire way through. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it still works, but I think the measure of 5 in there is better counted as 5 followed by 3. After this, we're going to have the F sharp riff, which is 3 measures of 4, so 12 beats total. Again, pretty easy to count along with. I guess it's kind of weird that it's 3 measures instead of 4, but again, that's just And Justice era Metallica for you. It's just hard for the sake of being hard, right? Here comes the F sharp riff. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the E riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Here comes 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Back to F sharp. 3, 4. 1, 2. Getting to the shortened E riff here, which is also 3 measures of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. F sharp riff, 3 measures of 4. Then we get to the A section. Let's talk about this. So the long A riff is exactly like the long E riff that we talked about earlier. So that means it's going to be that same kind of layout. 3 measures of 4, 1 measure of 5, and then a single measure of 3, okay? After that, it's going to repeat again with that slightly different ending, the part with the spider chord in it, right? That throws things off, and it actually eliminates all of the odd time signature stuff. So the second time through the A riff, it's actually just all in 4. It's really weird because it almost seems like the same riff, but you end up having to count it completely differently because of the way that it's structured. So for the long A riff, it's going to be the same meters as the long E riff, and then after that, just straight 4. Let's check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here's our 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. All 4 from here. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice that it's like 5 measures of 4. But again, it is entirely just 4/4 times, so it's nothing extremely weird. Lars just kind of keeps it simple and plays through there and does his usual stuff, like putting that crash on beat number 2, like I was talking about. That can be really confusing because it feels like the guitar riff started 2 beats ago, and then here's Lars putting a crash in as though that was the start of the measure. That's something that we're all really used to hearing, is like beat number 1 being announced with a huge crash cymbal. But all over their catalog, Lars does this. He puts a crash on 2 instead. And because of the way that these riffs have that spillover section that I was talking about earlier, where like when you're doing that second pull-off, da-da-da-da-da-da, that second one, da-da, is actually beat number 1. It feels like you're in the last measure because it's all part of that last lick or whatever, but that's actually beat 1, and then the crash happens after that. It just feels like nobody knows where the downbeat is for just a second, and it's so cool. It really like leaves you feeling confused as a listener. I think that's really, really awesome. Also must be a complete pain in the ass to solo over this too, so give it up to Kirk for that one. That would not be an easy task. Let's play through the entire thing one more time and count our way through it before we hit the road. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Starting over. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. So there you go, guys, a riff that's got more chugs and gallops than Stone Cold Steve Austin riding a horse. That was a really fun one to break down, and like I said earlier, that is by request. You guys have been asking for that one for a long time. So if there's another particular Metallica riff or solo or whatever that you'd like to see broken down in a future video, let me know in the comments section below. Remember, guys, you cannot trust those god-awful Metallica tab books. Seriously, I know that somebody is going to be like, but in the tab book it says blah blah blah. Those books are seriously horse shit. Do not trust them. They've been proven to be incorrect time and time and time again. So don't worry about it if what we talked about today is different than the book. The book does not have it right. Trust me on that one. Anyway, let me know whatever other Metallica stuff you guys think I should cover here on the channel, and we'll break that down on a future installment of Weekend Wankshop. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's going to be a lot easier to get a lot more out of this video if you have that tab that's available over on my Patreon page. It's going to be available to you even if you sign up for just $1 hair a month. So be sure to head on over to patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars or click the link down there in the video description and sign up today. Thanks for watching and liking this video. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell down there for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold for you guys. It's been fun as always, but now it's time to get off of here and go play some guitar. Less clicking, more picking.